This is
Chat the Great.
You remember your first meeting with them, like with Noel and Liam? Remember, how was it?
My first gig was at the Jug of Ale in Birmingham, which was a little pub. So MCP that I worked for were based in Walsall, so we did a lot of gigs in the Midlands. They were called Midland Concert Promotions. So the Jug of Ale was a bit like the Louisiana, a room above a pub. A really nice pub, run by really cool people. There was a Scouse lady called Anne from memory. And they had a room that held 120 people or something. So, when I joined MCP, I started just doing the same thing I'd been doing in Bristol, but at that venue in Birmingham. So putting on all the kind of up and coming new bands. So that was my first gig with Oasis. But I can't actually remember, because bear in mind, there's a lot, this would have been 94. So a long time ago. I don't remember my first conversations with them happening at that gig. But then I did another couple of gigs on the tour. We did Norwich and we did Bristol and we did Newport. And so by the time, they saw me again in Norwich, they remembered me, and then they were in Bristol, and, so they were, it was a tour with another band on Creation called Whiteout. And it was a tour that flipped over each night. So Oasis would close the show one night, Whiteout would close it the other. And they were just doing clubs. But they were I think Shaker Maker had just come out, I think, or Supersonic. I can't remember which single it was, but anyway, they were just starting to bubble under and start to, people were starting to get interested in them. And they had unusually they had a female. They had on the first show they didn't have a tour manager. It was just one of their road crew. But then when they got to Norwich, they had a tour manager, and she was American. She had an American woman. They had this really cool New York woman called Maggie Musakitis.
Wow.
Who was their tour manager for years afterwards. So it was unusual to see a woman being a tour manager, especially with a band like that, because they were a handful. But again, I think that was a really clever stroke by Marcus, putting a woman in charge, because they're decent working class lads from
Manchester.
From a northern families are. I think a lot of you might not live in the greatest area, but there's still a lot of respect for people and a lot of respect for women, and Oasis had that. And I think having a woman tour manager was a really good idea, because if there'd have been a bloke in charge, there would have been trouble. There would have been fists at some point, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
And Maggie was this no nonsense New Yorker who was fantastic. So that always made it easy. That was. For me and for Yorkie, for Chris York, we're the only people that from that time were involved with the band that carried on all the way through. Because Maggie left after a few years. Yeah. The agent was the same person. Marcus was the same manager, the same agent, the same two promoters, but everybody else on the tour was replaced at some point. Sound engineers, guitar techs, and whatever else. People came and went, but they were really loyal to us. So I guess you meet people in the beginning, and you either get on or you don't, and you develop a relationship over time. But for me, it's my job. It's it's business. I would never socialise with them in their houses or anything like that. I've always tried to keep a professional distance. Familiarity breeds contempt, doesn't it?
Yes.
So my job is to be their concert promoter. Not their friend, not their pal, not their boozing pal. My job is to organise their gigs, sell their tickets, and do a really good job. And that's what I always did.
Good for
So.
you.
And there'll be nights in hotels every now and again, and everyone had a few drinks and a bit of a piss up and end of tour party and whatever else. I've had some good fun nights out with them.
I can imagine,
but it was that's when business is over.